Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. Today I want to share with you a card that we did at this week's card class. And this week's card class was autumn cards. And I used 3 different stamp sets and 3 different techniques. And this is the first one. This one uses a lot of Stampin' blends. And this, I want to show you where I got the inspiration for this card. Inspiration can be found anywhere. I got this inspiration from a blanket. My daughter bought me, I got some new den furniture, and my daughter bought me a nice new fall blanket to help decorate the room after my new furniture arrived. And it's a nice soft fleece blanket, and this is the picture of the blanket. I saw this blanket, I loved it, and I said, that would make a great card. So here it is, shaken up just a little bit. The pumpkins are a little different. And I think this soft Sahara sand is very close to the picture, the color on the blanket. So look around because inspiration is everywhere. So this was a very simple card to make. It does have a lot of coloring, which if you have followed me, coloring usually gives me a little bit of anxiety, but I'm getting better at it. So using the base is Sahara sand, A2 size, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of old olive for my matte piece, and this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then for this here, I had a piece of cardstock that was 3 3/4 by 5, and there it is right there. And I just cut it at 2, so my top piece is 2 by 3 3/4, and the bottom piece is 3 by 3 3/4. But I decided to just cut the big piece and then slice it in half so that I knew that my edges were going to meet up perfectly. And then for the inside, I have a piece of Very Vanilla that is 4 by 5 1/4. And I also need a few pieces of scrap Very Vanilla and pumpkin pie. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our stamping. This is made with the buffalo check background stamp. I absolutely love this stamp. I just don't use it enough, but I really, really should. So let me grab a piece of paper here. What I'm going to do, I buy my backgrounds in wood mount because that way I don't have to mount them, and I just feel like I get a better grip if I can just have it right on that wood, and it works perfectly for me. So I'm going to take my Sahara sand and I'm going to ink up my stamp. Nice and inked up there. And then those 2 little pieces that I cut, I'm going to take the 2 by 3 3/4 one, and I'm just going to lay it on top of that. I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper and rub it in. And when I lift this up, I have a beautiful stamped image. Okay, so that's the top of my card. And here is the bottom of my card. Now, I'm going to attach those to my old olive. And just use a little bit of snail. Now I know that my border is going to be really skinny, so I can kind of eyeball where this goes. We did a card like this last class with, it was a Halloween card, and we did the same technique. We cut the larger piece. Just ran out of snail. Hold on. Okay, fully reloaded. What was I saying? Oh, we did this with the Halloween card, and like I'm doing this way with this one. I cut this large piece the size I was going to end up being. So in this case, 3 3/4 by 5, and then cut it. And the reason I do that is that way I know for sure that these are going to be the exact same size. Because sometimes I'm off like a hair, and that gets frustrating. So, okay, the next thing I'm going to do is tie my baker's twine onto my card, and I need to do that before I attach my card front to my card base. The baker's twine is old olive, and it is retired. but that's okay. Old Olive is still a current color, so I'm using it. So here we have that. I've tied it twice. Now, when I make my knot, I have a little too much twine here, but that's okay. When I make my knot, I want to make sure that I pull this up underneath both of those layers, so that when I tie, they're singed together right here. So now I'm just going to make a bow. And we're having some cold weather, so that triggers my arthritis in my hands. So bear with me 1 second while I make my bow. Okay, so I did that off camera so you don't have to watch me struggle. And I'm just going to play with this until I get the size that I want. Okay? And I'm just going to loosely cut those because I don't want to cut them too short. And I'll wait until after I finish my stamping to straighten those out. So now I have 2 pieces of scrap Very Vanilla, and I'm going to stamp my pumpkins with Memento. I'm going to stamp one right here and one right here. Then I'm also going to stamp the inside leaves. While I have my ink out, I might as well, right? So I'm going to stamp one leaf up right there. I probably could have stamped these with green, but then because that's a water-based stamp, when you go color it with the Stampin' blends, you run the risk of having it bleed. So now I'm going to do 2 stems. I'm going to do that one on this side. I have to strategically plan it so it fits with my punch. So now we need to color. So I have the Stampin' blends, and I'm just going to show you real quick how I do it, and then I'll go off camera to do it. I have the light and the dark pumpkin pie. The first thing I'm going to do with the fat tip is I'm going to just color this whole pumpkin in light pumpkin pie. And I'm just doing it, just want to get that ink on there because I want to shade it after. Now I have my dark pumpkin pie, and I'm just going to make a line on all, I'm going to make an outline on all of the black stripes there. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in with my light, and with circular motions, I'm going to blend that together. And with alcohol markers, you do need to remember that it's alcohol, so it does dry quickly, so you do need to move along quickly. And the reason you're blending your lines back in, not only to give it dimension, is because you don't want that stark dark line that you made there. You want it all to blend in nicely so that the pumpkin looks like it has some shadowing. And the way you do that is you pull it by going in circular motions. And if you find that you want to adjust your color, you just add a little more ink, whether it be the dark or the light. You can add as much or as little shading as you want, but you're just blending it in so that it really does look like it's got some shadow. And that's what we're going to do with that. I'm going to do the same thing with the leaves, except for this one I'm going to use Old Olive, and I'm going to, with the light Old Olive, color the whole leaf. And then with the dark Old Olive, I'm just going to come down, make some lines on those veins, and then come back with the old. And this is a small image, so the shading doesn't show up quite as much, but you can see it. It's nice and shaded there. Okay, Okay, and while I have my markers out, I'm going to just do my stem. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and finish my coloring, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm all colored, and you know what dawned on me? I think I forgot to tell you what I was using. I'm using this new Harvest Hellos stamp set in the holiday catalog, and the punch that we're going to use is going to cut out both of these. So you see, one is a pumpkin, one is an apple, and then you have this jack-o'-lantern face that you could put on stamp right on this one. And you have half an apple, you have apple seeds, and some foliage here. You Make Me Smile, which would be great for this one. To an A+ teacher for the apple. Feel Better Soon, also for the apple, because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Hey There Pumpkin. Give Thanks, that's what we're going to use. Welcome Back, which would be nice for the apple with the teacher. And then these green foliage pieces. So now we're going to start putting our card together because we're almost done. So the first thing I'm going to do is attach this to the inside of my card. And I'm just going to use a little bit of snail. And there's the inside, all done. Now I'm going to attach this piece to the front of my card. Okay. Now I'm still not going to cut those because I want to see where my pumpkins land. So now I have my coordinating pumpkin stamp set. Punch, excuse me, and here is the piece that cuts out either the pumpkin or the apple. Here's our stem, and there's one of the leaves. So I'm going to fit this in there, and it fits so perfectly. I'm going to punch, and then I'm going to do the same with this one. And I'm going to punch. And now there's that little stem. I'm going to punch that out and see why I had to strategically stamp it close to that edge so that I could be able to get that. And I'm going to do the same with this side here. So now I have all of my pieces. And with my snail, I'm going to just attach the stems to my pumpkin. Stems are so tiny. Okay, I'm just going to attach that right there. And this one, need a little bit more snail. And this one right there. Now I'm going to come in with my Stampin' Dimensionals, and bear with me one sec, here they are. I'm going to attach my pumpkins. Now the pumpkin that is in the background, I'm going to put 4 dimensionals on him. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the other pumpkin, I'm only going to use 3 because where it overlaps with the first pumpkin, I don't want it to bubble up. See what I mean is I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on this one. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I've put them only on the bottom and on this top side here, because when I put this here, if I had put another dimensional here, because this bottom one is already raised, this is going to be raised and it's going to be crooked. So I needed to be careful where the dimensionals go. Take that off, and I'm going to put that right there. Now I can determine how long I want my string to be. And I'm going to cut it I want it to be a little long. Okay, there we go. So now the last thing we have to do is just do our sentiment here. And using some old olive ink, I'm going to take the stamp that says give thanks, and I'm just going to stamp that on my scrap paper. Then with my 1-inch circle punch, I'm going to punch that out. I love being able to use all the pieces, as much of my scrap paper as possible. And then with a piece of scrap pumpkin pie, I'm going to use my 1 1/8 scalloped punch and punch out that piece. And now I'm just going to layer it. And that just gives a nice small enough border. And the last thing to do is pop it up on a dimensional. And there we go. And there we go. Pretty. Now this one here, I did this a few days ago, and my pumpkins clearly are much darker and they don't have as much shading in them. And this one I did a little lighter, excuse me, a little lighter, and I like both of them. I kind of like this one a little better though. So there's the first of our Thanksgiving cards. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I used, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. And if you do not have a demonstrator with whom you work and would like to have a holiday catalog sent out to you, certainly just contact me right there and I'll get one in the mail right away. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.